Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Shop with Russ. Exciting night tonight. We've got Mr. Paul Jackman's going to be here, and we're going to be talking about his stuff and what he does, and maybe even some Arbortech Tools stuff. So I'm looking forward to that and having him on. Thank you guys for being out there in the chat. We had 17 out there in the chat before we even started the show, so that's fantastic. Driveway Workshop with Jim Bashir's, Jimbo. Katie Dotson, all of them are out there in the chat. Matter of fact, Katie, if you want to, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9. Katie, if you want to join us, if somebody wants to send her the link, you're more than welcome to come in here tonight. Oh, she's a card, Paul. Let me tell you, if she gets on here, you'll be laughing your butt off. She's something else. Michelle Marcoux out there. Chris Nealon, all those guys are out there in the chat. I appreciate you all very much. Got a few announcements tonight and some things I want to, or actually only one announcement. No, there's more than one. Let me get my notes out here before I forget. Let's start off with Shane Cole. The reason Shane and Shelly's not here tonight is Shane had a nasty fall, from my understanding. They're usually on the panel all the time, and slipped on the ice and busted his head. Poor guy. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it anyway. But he's not on tonight. He's apparently not doing very good. And so keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Like I said, he fell, and so Shelly's taking care of him tonight, so they're not going to be on the panel. So if anybody's wondering, I know y'all are always used to them being on the panel. You probably were going to ask, where are they at? So that's where they're at. They said they were going to be out there in the chat, and I did think I saw Shane in the chat a little bit earlier. He just said he just wasn't up to being on the panel tonight. So that's number one. And then number two, you know, I don't like doing this, but by God, sometimes you just have to do it. And when you lose your compassion for others, I mean, you know, what else have you got as far as you got friends out there? You got to help them in any way you can. So Donna Presley's brother, Doyle, he was involved in a ranching accident, and he's in real bad shape. They have him in ICU right now and out in Texas. She lives in Alabama, so she's out there in Texas right there. She's been out there since, I think, March 28th when this accident happened. And so she's at the hospital every day with him and taking care of him or seeing after him. So she hasn't done a GoFundMe. What she did is PayPal me. And I've posted out there, and a few others have posted out there. If you'll go look around or just type in Donna Presley, if you're her friend, and they're asking for money and to help him with his medical expenses. He doesn't have insurance. They're trying to work with Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security to try to get him some help. He's not doing very good right now, but they're hoping for an outcome, and they're trying to get prepared in case for him to come home. And so they need a ventilator and just all the medical expenses around. If there's anything you can do, I would very much appreciate it to help them out. Like I said, it's Donna Presley, and I think it's PayPal me, Donna Presley. If you will go over to Facebook, if somebody can put the link over there, Al or Paul, in the actual chat. If you'll go over there, just if you're friends with her, type in Donna Presley and go to her page. She has all the information there. If you see the picture, it'll break your heart. I mean, it will. I have brothers, and that's her brother. If you see the picture, it'll actually break your heart. So help her out if you can. And here's another thing I'm going to do. Okay, I just made a post over on Facebook on my personal page, Russell Clarity. I'm having an auction. The auction begins as of now, the starting of this show at 8 o'clock, and will run until midnight tomorrow night. Okay, so you have all night tonight, all day tomorrow, and until 11:59 to be exact, Sunday night. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to auction off this scroll saw piece that I've made, and I made it over on Twitch. This is the very first one. I designed the pattern and made the pattern, so there's none other out there. And this is the very first one. I cut it live on Twitch. Matter of fact, I thought if the winner wants to, I'll even put the Twitch show on a DVD and send it along with it so you can watch me making it, if that would make you happy. And I'll also autograph it and date it. But this is going up for auction. If you would please go to my page, all the proceeds are going to go to Donna Presley and help her with the medical needs of her brother. I'm not even going to touch the money. What you're going to do is whoever wins the auction, you will PayPal it to Donna Presley. She'll let me know that she's received it, and I'll send this. And I'll ship this for free anywhere in the lower 48. So if you win this and you are here in the lower 48, I'll ship it to you for free. So let's try to, I would really appreciate y'all if y'all get together. This is a one of a kind. There is no other out there. This is the first one right here, the very first production of this pattern and this. So if you would like to have this and help out my friend Donna Presley and her brother Doyle, I would appreciate it. But this is up for auction. The auction just opened up at the beginning of this show, so I would appreciate it. This is some other stuff I've done. This is an Indian head that I scrolled out, and another little deer scene back here that I scrolled out. But that's up for auction as of right now. I would appreciate it. And this is the bowl we made the other night over on Twitch on Scrolling with Russ. I got it put together. Man, this thing sucks up some lacquer. Let me tell you, it absorbs it like you wouldn't believe. This is like 3 coats and it hasn't even started to shine yet. So it's unbelievable. The bottom seems to take it pretty good, and the bottom here, but the sides don't. But anyway, that's all the stuff that I've been doing around my shop. Oh, and one more thing. This is so funny. I showed this over on Twitch. When I went to Home Depot the other day, I ran into a homeless guy, and I felt really, really sorry for him. And as soon as I seen him, I'm like, okay, I'll do whatever I can. So I ended up bringing the guy home, and so I even made a frame for him. So I felt really bad, you know. He was sitting there all by himself, and didn't look like he'd eaten in a while. Looks kind of skinny, but I brought him home and even made a frame for him, so I can either hang him up or he can sit. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's not. I've seen a lot of people run into figures in wood, in other words, but this is the first time I've ever run into a figure in wood. And I bought the whole 8-foot board just for this. I was in there to get one, and I ended up buying 2 8-foot boards, and I bought it just for this guy right here and cut him out of that 8-foot board. So pretty cool. I think it looks pretty cool.
You know, I saw it, and for some reason when you said that, I thought it was a homeless guy you brought home. that's funny. Yeah.
He was homeless. He was sitting there in a stack with the rest of the boards. He was homeless.
I was flipping back and forth, and it's like
so I gave him a home. Yeah. All right, so that's all the announcements I have is about that. Let me talk about my wonderful sponsors, and then we will get to the panel and get to Paul. They are Devobal Technologies for web design, development, and hosting. Go visit devobal.com. They do my website and several of the people here on the panel's website. FastCap, innovative products for the professional woodworker. Go to fastcap.com. Rockler, 60 years in woodworking. Create with confidence. Visit rockler.com. Bearwood Supply Company, your best choice for hard-to-find woodworking supplies. Go to bearwood.com. They do the Pegasus blades, supplying with the Pegasus blades for my scroll saw. And Klingspor, the sanding specialist, woodworkingshop.com. They have a lot more on their site than just sandpaper. And then last but not least, Seiko, the scroll saw specialist, seiko.com. They're the ones that I gave me the brand new ST21 scroll saw that I'm now using over on Scrolling with Russ on Wednesday nights over on Twitch. Let's start with the, I think I'll start to my left since Paul's all the way at the end on the right, and we'll start off with, on my left is Brenda. You want to tell us where we can find you?
Hello, I'm Brenda G of Brenda G's Designs. You will find me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, Instagram, and Etsy, all under Brenda G's Designs. I'm the Eclectic Crafter.
Cool. I'm just looking over there. We already got some bids rolling in over there, guys. I really do appreciate it on the auction. Thank you so very, very much. Next is Chris Ahern.
There we go. Okay. Hey, gang. Chris here. Chris Ahern here from the Old Cranky Workshop. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube. And as of tomorrow morning, back on the race course. But the workshop is back open, and hopefully get some production going out there real soon. And soon to be a website. So that's in the works. So watch out for that. So
Yeah, cool.
that's about it right now.
Yeah, but Paul don't know it, but I had a website 2 or 3 shows ago. I had a website. My sponsor DeVolvo gave a website away, and happened to be we went through how many? What, three or four names before?
4, yeah.
Yeah, and then Chris ended up winning, so that's great. Mr. John Schaffner.
Good evening, everybody. John Schaffner here from Central New York. You can find me on Facebook under my name, and that's about it right now.
Cool. And then Miss Katie Dotson.
Your homeless guy looks like E.T. on drugs.
That's what a lot of people said. My wife looked at him. Oh, no, she didn't say E.T. She said he looked like the sloth from Ice Age.
No, that's definitely E.T.
Okay. E.T. on drugs. I'll remember that. How you doing, Katie? Where can we find you?
I'm good. I'm on Facebook, and that's pretty much it. I have a YouTube channel. I never do anything there.
Okay.
But because I'm basically lazy, and that takes effort.
Okay.
But mostly I make, as I've said before, inappropriate comments and give people a hard time because I enjoy it and I'm good at it.
Okay. All right, Katie. Well, let's move on to Ken.
Hey, I'm Ken Moon from Moon Pie Creations. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, Moon Pie Creations on those, or Ken Moon on Facebook. And as of yesterday, Twitter. Woo! But I'm MPC_Ken on Twitter.
Moving on up.
Yeah. Got to do what I got to do, right?
Yep. And then Mr. Al. How you doing, Al?
Hello. Welcome. Thank you for having me. Al Forte from Odessa Woodworking on Facebook, Odessa Woodworking and Maker Shop on YouTube, Kilroy79763 on Twitch. Actually, if you look for me, Kilroy79763, you'll find me everywhere. Kilroy was everywhere. But anyway, thanks for having me here.
You're welcome. And then Paul Corliss from Paul's Messy Workshop.
Hey, everybody. Paul Corliss from Paul's Messy Workshop. That's Paul's Messy Workshop on YouTube, on Instagram, on .com. And I appreciate being on here, Russ. And I just want to say to all those watching, please go check out Ken Moon's YouTube channels because he feels neglected.
Yeah, Ken Moon feels neglected. It's good to have you back on first. And foremost, it's good to have you back on without your collar.
Yes.
Well, no collar.
Like a bobblehead.
Yeah, and then it's also good news that your wife is back home also, right?
Yes, she is, and she's coming along quite well. Thank you.
Cool. For those of you who do not know, Paul had to have surgery on his neck, so he was stuck with a collar for a while, and then his wife, during that period of time, slipped and fell and broke her pelvis, so she was in the hospital. So it's good to have them all back together. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, it was. I now know why I was good to my kids.
Yeah, exactly. You got that right, to help out.
Yeah.
All right. So now the man of the hour, Mr. Paul Jackman. How are you doing?
Good. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
You're more than welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you to start off with.
Yeah, I'm Paul Jackman, the other Paul, and Jackman Works everywhere. So it's pretty easy.
Pretty easy. Now, you first, right off the bat, what in the world got you started doing videos? And I know, have you always been doing woodworking?
Yeah, since I was a teenager, I've been doing the woodworking stuff, and the video stuff's, I don't know, about 3.5 years old now, and just started that just basically as an excuse to get a camera and play around with the camera, and found Steve Ramsey originally, and then stumbled upon Jimmy DiResta. So once I found that, I kind of went down that rabbit hole, and it's never ended from there.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like me. I'm a third generation carpenter, and so I've been around woodworking all my life. I think I tell people that as soon as I was knee high, or I started when I was knee high to a grasshopper. In other words, just as soon as I could, my dad had a hammer in my hand, and I was out on the job. So,
yeah, it's funny. My dad was actually a cook in the Coast Guard, and never did woodworking, anything like that. And somehow I stumbled into it. I went to a trade school for high school, and just had the bug ever since then.
Okay. Anybody got any questions they want to ask Paul? Boy, y'all are all quiet real quick. All right. So,
throw me an easy one.
Yeah. All right. About in regards to woodworking, what's one of your favorite parts or favorite things to do as far as in woodworking?
I don't know. I like making weird stuff.
Well, that's kind of obvious.
Like using materials in ways that people don't see right off the bat. Kind of stuff out of left field, you could say, literally, with my last project there with the big baseball. And just kind of taking materials, a lot of times reclaimed and upcycled stuff, and turning it into something cool and something that people don't expect.
Yeah, you use something in all sincerity that I kind of like. I mean, I use it, but I hate it, and that's damn pallet wood. It's such a pain in the butt to deal with. Jim Bashirs says out there, I don't know if you know who Jim Bashirs is, but he says, with all the big chairs Paul's made lately, is he actually compensating for the walking in on Pat Lap in the bathroom?
I'm compensating for something. I don't know what that is, though.
I have a question for him.
Okay.
Has he seen that really weird looking leg lamp that somebody out there built? Have you seen that thing? Do you do things like that?
I've heard about it.
You've heard about it. Do you have it with you?
I don't have the lamp, but
okay.
You got the template. You got the template.
That's the second best thing right there.
If anybody out there has not seen that thing, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I would say of the builds that you have done, and I have seen, that was probably one of my favorite, because the show you did it. What is it? The Christmas Story, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite. Matter of
the
fact,
Andy version was the best version of it, though.
Me and the kids every year when they were growing up watched that stinking thing around Christmas time, like with the BB gun. It'll put your eye out. Just a fantastic movie.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I don't even know how we came up with that idea. Me and my wife just like sat down for dinner, and I had a project to do with Carolina Boots, who I made the lamp for, and just trying to think of ideas around the holiday, what kind of holiday related thing that we could come up with. And I don't know, somehow that thing got thrown out on the table, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, yeah, that's the one. That's the idea right there.
Now, where do you get most of your pallet wood from?
Back in Rhode Island. I just recently moved this summer to DC, but Rhode Island, my big source was a local tile shop. So one of the ladies that worked there, I did some work for her, and she's like, oh, you like to do stuff with pallet wood, like go look outside the back of the building, because they had like an endless supply. They would just throw them out there, and eventually the trash would come and pick them up, but they just had stacks and stacks of pallets. They had nothing they didn't know what to do with. So basically just told me, whenever you need pallets, you come and get them. They're yours. So since moving to DC, I found a wire manufacturer that's very similar, where they just go through pallets like crazy, and they always have a stack. So just kind of places like that, they're always shipping stuff around. And it seems for some reason the wire manufacturer only uses them a couple times, because they're always in good shape, and better for me that way.
Yeah, you're better off picking pallets that are like that rather than like pallets that have been transporting food or stuff like that, because those are really nasty pallets. My son-in-law works for Pepsi and is all the time telling me, I can have all the pallets I want. And I went over there and looked at them a couple of times. And I'm like, the cases have been broken. They're all have Pepsi all over them. And that stuff sit out in the suns.
Yeah, those things have been around.
Yeah. I'm like, nah, that's all right. Every once in a while, he knows what to look for. And I've told him. So every once in a while, he'll call me and tell me, hey, I've got 3 or 4 really, really nice pallets I'll drop off at the house. I don't mind using them. Don't get me wrong. But it's just, I'd rather go buy the damn wood than tear the pallet apart. You know, so Sterling Davis, let me back up and see what he said. He says, okay, over here in the chat, he said something about, when did you get invalid with pallet wood? That don't make sense, Sterling. But and would you share your secret to breaking down pallets? He wants to know your secret on how you break down pallets.
So I have a feeling I know where he's going with that, because my first pallet project was for the Sterling Davis Pallet Upcycle Challenge. I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
So Sterling is to blame, if anybody's wondering.
He got you into the pallet stuff.
Yeah, him and watching Tim's stuff too, Tim Sway.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah,
I know
Tim.
say, yeah, those two guys right there.
I don't know if you know this or not, but I do the pallet thing now.
Yep. Yeah, you took over.
Yeah, I took over. He was just so busy he couldn't do it anymore, and asked me if I would do it, so I started taking it over.
Yeah, I was doing something when you did it last year, and I got it done too late. I can't remember what the project was, but cool. I'm always doing pallet stuff anyway, so that could be anything.
All right, let me go. Anybody got any more questions on the panel?
Yeah, what are you gonna do with that giant baseball chair?
So Arbortech commissioned me to make that for them, and they're giving it away.
Oh, cool.
So
Really?
there's a giveaway going on right now, and you can enter if it's a certain radius. They're based out of Massachusetts, so especially the Northeast U.S. is open to enter that, and they have like some Arbortech tools up for grabs for everybody else.
Go check it out.
But yeah, the baseball is sitting over there in my shop right now, taking up way too much space.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw how big your shop is. It's gonna be taking up a lot of space.
Yeah, I'm in a one-car garage. It's just over 300 square feet.
Yeah, welcome to my life.
Yeah.
So speaking of Arbortech, and I know you use a lot of their stuff. Bring out some Arbortech stuff and let's show us and talk about it if you don't mind.
Sure. I got a whole drawer of it right back here.
What's one of your favorite tools?
I don't know. The turbo plane. I'll try and pull that out. So yeah, the turbo plane is the workhorse for me, which is the big disc. I think it's a 4-inch disc. It fits in any 4.5-inch angle grinder.
Right.
And that is what does the bulk of the work, because it takes it off quick, and it's got 3 carbide teeth on it that are really sharp, and you can sharpen them like a table saw blade. Oh, cool. So that takes it off quick and cuts it really smooth too, impressively. Let's see here.
Sterling Davis wants to know technically you're a child of mine.
Oh, a child of Sterling's?
Yeah. Sterling Davis said that. He says, so technically you're a child of mine. You're a child of Sterling.
I guess so. I mean, did you see the picture from Atlanta?
Yeah.
I think there's a resemblance there somewhere.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big one right there. One of the ones I've been playing around with recently is the power chisel. So I use that on the baseball chair. And let's see here. It's basically this guy here. It's an angle grinder body with this attachment built in the front of it. And then there's sets of maybe a dozen different chisels that pop into the front. And right there, they just lock in place with a little button. And it's just power actuated, basically vibrates in one direction.
Okay, it goes in and out.
Yeah, so that chisels away the material. And it's just like a really fast vibration. And there's different profile chisels for different things, rounded and V nose, and there's a flat chisel. And I'm just getting going. Go ahead.
Can you show us some of those? I know you showed some of them before.
The chisels? Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted people to see that.
Is that thing hard to control?
It's surprisingly not. I used it the first time was on the baseball project, and it's really safe to use. You can basically grab right onto the chisel because the only thing that's cutting is right at the tip. So I would hold right on here to control it, and it's really, really easy to maneuver around and stuff. And with like the V nose chisel here, like that cuts a really nice profile, and then there's like a wider curve here.
Wow.
But yeah, as long as they're fairly sharp, it cuts through it. Like I was cutting pine, so that was pretty easy. But even I've used it on maple and stuff a little bit too, just demoing it, and it's impressive how powerful it is for the little machine that it is.
Reminds me of a air chisel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, reminds me. I've got one of them, and I've used it for a bunch of things, but I've never used it for carving.
Yeah, yeah. I want to play around with that more. It's fun to use too, just because it's fairly quiet and it's just it's not like a big giant spinning saw blade that is about to chop your hands off. So it's kind of delicate, I guess, in that way.
How about the ball gouge? You have one of those?
I do.
Now,
this little guy right here.
Yeah, I've got one of them. What have you made with that so far? What have you used on?
I haven't used it on a project yet. I've played around with it, just doing like texturing and stuff, because it's, I don't know, about 3 inches long and it threads right into your angle grinder on the end. So since you have that arm on it, it's very tactile, where if you put like pressure on it certain ways, it'll bounce around. So you can get kind of a cool textured pattern on your pieces of wood, depending on how you hold it. But it's very adjustable kind of on the angle that you're cutting it with and like how hard you're pushing into it. But I just played around on the log, just seeing how it behaves and stuff and kind of getting the feel for it. And it's cool. You can dig in a little bit too. And I don't know, it's versatile.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm sorry. Is that used on lathe or a chisel?
This goes on your angle grinder.
Yeah, I've got one right here.
But is the lathe, is it for lathe?
No,
it's just for freeform, just freehanding power carving.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just for freeform. When I was at the Tampa Woodworking Show and talking to the guys there at Arbortech, they give me this, so I'm going to play with it and see what I can do. And I was telling Paul the instructions, and they gave me, said in the very beginning, it is so sharp that you actually need to use it for a while, just play around with it to get it to dull down a little bit, because it's so sharp in the beginning that it wants to grab everything and take off with you. So once you get it dulled down a little bit, it works pretty good. And I got news for you. It would cut you. I mean, this is like razor sharp on these edges right here. I was actually shocked how sharp it was, but I've only played around with it. But I'm looking forward to doing something with this and actually producing a video for them also. I'm putting it out there.
Cool. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. I got to think of a project to go along with that.
Yeah, I watched. Now Izzy was in Atlanta, and I watched Izzy. Izzy made a spoon with that.
Yeah, they're great for dishing out the bowls of spoons.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. Two things. Let me go back here. Buster Stott said, "Hi, Russ from Stott Scroll Saw Studio." Hi, Buster. Jim Bashir's asked, has the smaller shop been a pain, or do you think you're better off for having it?
I'd say mostly it's been a pain. So the backstory on that is I had a shop in Rhode Island. I moved last summer in July, so been here almost a year now. But my wife's in the Coast Guard, so we move around fairly frequently. And the shop in Rhode Island was I don't know, basically a 2-car garage. It was about 400 square feet, I think a little bit over 400. And it was part of an old mill building in Rhode Island, which are all over the place because they got rivers and everything everywhere. And it was an old textile mill that they have renovated and kind of revitalized into this art colony. So the main mill building was chopped up into a bunch of art studios. And then my shop was around the back. It was the old boathouse on the mill building. So it was a lot bigger space than what I'm in now. So I lost, I don't know, 60, 70 square feet, I think, on the last shop. But I'm making it work. I didn't think it would be big enough. But when I moved here, commercial space in Washington, D.C. is insanely expensive. And I was looking around to rent a place out, and it just wasn't going to happen. And kind of had to make do with the garage, and it's actually working out well. And I like it as far as the YouTube thing, because I'm full-time on YouTube, and it's very relatable to a lot of people because this is the space that they have to work with. So I don't have a giant 3-car garage workshop and, kind of teaching people through that. I'm teaching people in the same space that they're working out of.
Hey, wait a second. My 3-car garage is full of junk. Does that count? Because the size is actually 1-car garage.
So you basically have the same shop as me then.
Yeah.
Well, if you clean it out, Al, you wouldn't have that problem.
But I might need to use something.
Yeah. That's the problem.
You need a shop to store the stuff in your shop.
Yeah. And that's the truth. That's the way I am. I finally had to start getting rid of stuff. And it was just like, you just accumulate so much stuff, and it's all just, you have this stuff sitting over here that you haven't used in 10 years. So why do you keep this stuff? And then you got the stuff over here that you haven't used in 5 years. So I decided the 10-year stuff had to go first.
You need a new place to put your stuff in.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's probably a big negative of the small space is you don't have storage space really, which is good for me because then I'd have to move all the stuff around with me. So I got to kind of keep things contained anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Sterling Davis wants to know, he keeps on asking these questions. Do you make vegan boots too, or is that just Tim?
Yeah. So the story behind that is last week I was out in central Pennsylvania. I work with Carolina Boots doing some sponsored stuff. And me and Tim and Jimmy DiResta was out there. John Graziano, he's got a smaller channel. But we all went out there and we went through the factory, made our own pairs of boots. And Tim Sway's a vegetarian. I am too. And he's been talking with them for a while because he wanted to get like a vegetarian leather, so like a non-cow based leather. And he's been working back and forth for months on that and found this like synthetic alternative leather material. And we went through and made boots out of it. And they came out really good. They look, I don't know if I can show them. I'm wearing them now, but they look like real leather. Let's see.
Damn.
Oh, cool.
That is cool.
So that's the vegan leather or whatever you want to call it.
But you made that yourself there at their shop.
That's what I said, but I basically I walked around and I held a box with all the stuff in it, and that was it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sewing, man, you're very good at learning to sew real fast.
Yeah. It's impressive. The sewing machines and all the tools that they have there for every step of the process is impressive. And I'll be making a video and Tim will be making a video. So you'll have to keep an eye on the YouTube channels for that.
Yeah. Dan Inge says he has 484 square feet of shop space. That's about, this shop here is like 600 square feet that I'm in. And the other shop out there is, here, hold on. I'll tell you how big that one is, 14 by 36. So altogether, I've got probably 1,300, maybe 1,400, somewhere in that area, square feet of shop.
I got 280 there, Russ. So
you got 280?
Yeah, I got a 16 by or 18 by 12 foot.
I got this shop and I'm trying to expand. I want to expand so bad I can't stand it.
I want to expand into another county. Oh, I just want to move is what it is.
Jim Bashir said Paul's boots are the original lettuce wraps. Y'all ain't got any good questions for the man? I mean, come on. Can't you,
I got questions about the boots. I mean, I just as soon wear a non-leather boot, but nothing breathes like leather does, and my feet get weird, like crack open and bleed and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just got these last week. I've been wearing them in the shop this week, and so far they feel pretty good. Okay. But we'll see once the summer comes how they hold up.
Yeah, and what they do to your feet, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to have, like, when I was doing construction and stuff, I had like 3 pairs of boots. I'm a sweater. Even before I gained my weight, I sweat bad, and that includes my feet. Mm-hmm. So therefore, my socks and my boots would be drenched when I come home. I would actually have to set that pair of boots aside to air out. And I had a place in my out on my back porch, and I had a fan. Then I would set them there, and the fan would blow on them to dry them out, and move to the next pair and use that pair. And then I went on duty at the fire department for 24 hours. Then I would come back out, and I would have the third pair, and then I kept rotating between 3 pairs of boots. Literally, I could take my boots off, or I mean, take my boots off, yeah, and take the socks and just wring the water out of them. Oh. That's how bad I sweated. I mean, I would take, when I was in construction, I would take 3 or 4 T-shirts with me to work that day, and a couple of towels. And I would literally, like, especially at lunchtime, I would change and put a clean shirt on that was dry so I could eat lunch or go to lunch. And then I would come back, and yeah, I sweat bad. Any more questions from anybody on the panel?
Yeah. We've seen your the leg. We've seen the chair. What's your next big project?
I mean, I got a dresser build coming up. That's not very exciting, though.
Well, it could be.
I think it's a cool design, so I think it'll come out good. It's not big and exciting like a giant baseball chair, but I think it'll be a cool one.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, I always enjoyed yours because they're always just a little off center. I like them. They know what everything else is doing.
Right now, I'm working on a bench vise. So if anybody's seen the pallet workbenches, that's a big project that I made in the Rhode Island shop. It was, I don't know, maybe 22 pallets total, tore them apart and glued them together to make what are my workbenches that I'm on right now.
Right.
And what I did is I cut off one of the overhangs on one of the sides of the bench, and I'm going to turn it into a Moxon bench vise with the pipe clamps like other people have done. But I made it out of pallet wood, of course.
Of course. Why not?
Yeah.
Free wood is free wood.
Yeah.
Big fan of free.
The couple of people was wanting to know what your next big project is. I'm looking back to see if Al, you had a question, I think, didn't you?
Well, it was kind of along the lines of what the next project was.
Oh,
Yeah, I got a question there, Russ.
go ahead.
Can I ask you? Hey,
No.
Tom, your music in your video, it's pretty good music. Do you like go out and get the copyright? I mean, I know you can go out and like buy a song so you can use it in there, so you don't have the copyright issues. Is that what you do with that music, or is it?
Yeah, it depends on the video. Sometimes I've been getting some music recently from Epidemic Sound, which has like a monthly whatever it is. Basically, you sign up and pay a monthly fee, and you get access to their library, and that'll clear up any copyright issues. I've done a lot of stuff with like independent artists and just from SoundCloud and whatnot, and I just get their permission, which means sometimes the videos just aren't monetized. I'll always get the okay so that I don't get like a copyright strike, like a video takedown. But sometimes I just don't monetize the videos if I really like the music, and just kind of take that for what it is.
Russ says, Inspired Woodwork says, Russ, you live in the suburb of Hades. Yeah, it gets really hot down here in Florida, let me tell you. And it's not only the heat, it's the humidity. I mean, when you're running 80-90% humidity, you walk outside and it feels like you're walking into a steam bath. I mean, literally. So looking for anybody, any questions, any guys, you got any more questions out there in the chat? Oh, was the Adirondack, I'll get it right. Adirondack chair build idea from the movie Big, or are you just a Tom Hanks fanboy?
Adirondack chair. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, the Adirondack chair. I think that's where y'all took pictures in that big, huge chair.
Yeah.
But
I built a giant Adirondack chair. That must be from a movie or something. He's referencing Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
But I used to build. I haven't built them for a while, but I have this Adirondack chair design, and I built quite a few of them. And it was for January 1st this year, New Year's Day. I put a video together to celebrate my 100,000 subscriber milestone, and I just for the video I built this giant Adirondack chair that was a 2x scale version of my regular size one. And it was just a prop for the video, but now Carolina has it at their factory. So like when we went through the boot camp afterwards, we were all sitting down in it taking pictures.
Oh, okay. That's probably what he was getting. So that's where he's getting it. If you've ever watched Tom Hanks' movie Big, it has a reference to some, him being big, in other words.
Okay.
Shane Cole had a question. He wanted to know if you could do a collab with anybody, who would it be?
His favorite person, me.
Come on, Russ. Me, of course.
I would say Pat Lapp, but we've done that like 20 times already.
Yeah, that's insane, man. It's awesome. Every time I see those, I just
yeah, he is definitely off the chain.
Yeah.
Hey, where'd you see Shane Cole's post? I haven't even seen him out there in the chat.
He was out there earlier.
Okay.
I think Brenda was making it up.
It was way up there.
No, that was Debbie that was making stuff
That
up.
was Debbie, yeah.
No, it was way up there. You missed it a long time ago, Russ.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for doing that. I mean, I hate to miss them, but they get to chatting out there in that chat, and it's hard to keep up. So I tried to go back through and catch them.
Especially when you read slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
somebody else I might want to do a collab with is Peter Brown. So I've been talking with him. We just got to come up with a cool idea, but I think we think a lot alike. So
you could dip that big old baseball. That's what you could do.
And then turn it into a ball.
Baseball.
I'm looking. I don't have any more. Well, you said that when you first got started, you were watching Ramsey and then who else?
Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy. But who are some of the woodworkers that you enjoy? I mean, really, you've got to have a couple on it, and I'm sure Tim Sway is one of them naturally, and Pat Lapp. But who's some of the other woodworkers that you really enjoy watching their videos?
Frank Howarth, like his woodworking and his videos are a big inspiration to me, and he comments on my stuff all the time too, which is really cool. So I think it's somewhat mutual, and I pick up some cool video tricks from him, and he's always doing the stop motion and just cool stuff like that. So that kind of keeps me inspired to kind of keep innovating with the video ideas and throwing weird stuff in there that you don't see on most kind of making how-to videos.
Cool. I'm trying to go back through. Sterling Davis, I ain't asking that question.
Right back in that was.
Yeah.
Talking about my gas problem?
Yes. What are you talking about? I got a gas problem too.
It's a sound effect that's made its way around quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
We'll say it's a sound effect. Yeah.
Say it's a sound effect. Now, in your shop, what's some of the? I know you use Arbortech and you like Arbortech, but what are some of the other tools that you have in your shop? Like a table saw? You have a table saw?
Yeah, I have a saw stop table saw. So that's the 36-inch fence, I think. But I've been wanting those. It's pretty funny to say. That was like my dream when I was a teenager, was to buy a saw stop. I went to a trade high school, and it was 2000. I want to say 2007. We got saw stops in the shop. It was like right when they were brand new on the market, and ever since that, we got two of them in the shop. And ever since I had used those in the shop, I was like, I want to buy one of those once I get a space that's big enough. And once I moved to the Rhode Island shop and I took the woodworking full time, that was like one of the first things that I bought was the saw stop.
Cool. What are some of the other bigger tools that you have?
I don't know. I don't have a ton. I got a lathe, a big jet lathe. It's a 16-inch.
Mm-hmm.
That I got used off of Craigslist. That was a good find.
Do you use it very much?
I do. Yeah. That replaced an old Harbor Freight lathe. I had the whatever the biggest version one they had, and that was the upgrade. But
yeah,
I do.
I find that interesting. You say about the Harbor Freight because of the fact that I know several people that have and use the Harbor Freight lathe and really like it and say it's a pretty doggone good lathe for the amount of money.
It really is. And like, that's where I direct people when they're wanting to get started with wood turning. And if they want to make bigger projects, I say that's a good bang for your buck. But yeah. I built up some riser blocks on it to give it, I think it was like a 14-inch cutting capacity. And I blew out the motor a couple times, and the motor just couldn't handle what I was trying to do with it. So I needed a bigger one.
I started off with it's not a Craftsman, but it was like a Craftsman leg with the tube.
Yep.
Yeah. And when I first started using that, I got to, and I turned a few things. I was like, I said, Lord have mercy. If this is all there is, then I ain't going to get into this lathe stuff, because it was terrible. And a couple of people told me the problem is it's the lathe. You got to, you know, the lathe is not really that great. You need to get a better lathe. So I was fortunate enough to stumble across a very good deal on a Nova 2024 DVR lathe. And I want to tell you, the first time I turned anything on that, I turned a bowl right off the bat. The first bowl I turned on it, and I was like, oh my God, no wonder I was having so much troubles. It was like the difference between night and day.
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of came at it from the opposite angle, where I was working in like the professional wood shop. Like, that was the first shop I'd ever had. And when I graduated high school, I had nothing. So I like went right back down to the bottom of the pile and like the Harbor Freight tools and stuff like that until I could build it back up again.
Right. I want to tell you, I love that Nova DVR 2024. That thing is so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Those look like a good machine.
Yeah. It's kind of like that guy that says you can't, you'll have to pry it from my cold, dead hands or fingers, so to speak, to get it away from me. Dave Hart wants a shop confession. Dave will do the shop confession toward the end of the show. Matter of fact, what time is it? We got plenty of time. We got 8:47. Let's check on to see how the auction's going over here. Just trying to see out of curiosity. We're up to $65. Fantastic. Chris Nealon. He's put a bid in at $65. Thank you very, very much, Chris. Like I said, guys, this is 100% going to Donna. I'm not even going to, let me get back over here. I got open. I'm not even going to touch the money. When the winner of the auction is announced, you will give that to her through PayPal me. And once she confirms that, yeah, I've got the money, then I'll put this in the ship it to you, and you will have it. So I'm not even going to have it at all. 100% is going to her. And she had actually asked me about doing how to do the PayPal or the GoFundMe. And I think the PayPal is the very best. And don't get me wrong, I like GoFundMe. And I just wanted to put that out there for a second. It's not that I'm downing GoFundMe, but GoFundMe charges a fee because they are a service. They're doing a service. They're letting people come there and post. They have the website. They're collecting the money from everybody. And I understand that they have to charge a fee, but still they charge a fee. So they get a percentage of whatever you're getting. It's not a lot. It's not a tremendous amount like, you would think, but it's still a fee. So this way, Donna gets 100% of the proceeds. Whatever you PayPal her, she gets 100% of it. So I really like that idea. And so that's that. Sterling wants to know, Paul, what I know he don't want to know it from me, but he wants to know what upcoming events are you going to be attending?
Oh yeah. I don't know. Let me think. I just got off like all the woodworking show circuit. I did, I think, 4 shows this year. So I was busy in March. I'm trying to remember what's coming up. Maker Faire is coming up in May. So that's, I think, the 2nd or 3rd week of May. I'm not going to make it to Maker Central over in the UK. Let me think. That might be it. I mean, Maker Faire in New York City is coming up in September in the fall. I'll be at that one too. And I might be speaking at one of those. So we'll see how that goes. And April, I think in a week or two, the plan is to deliver the baseball chair in person. So depending on where that is, we might have a local meetup. But we're kind of we picked the winner on Monday, so kind of playing that by ear now. And I don't know. Besides that, I know Izzy had something coming up in June, potentially up in upstate Michigan. I think that's it.
Okay. Jim Bashirs wants to know, other than Arbortech, what kind of other brands of tools do you work with? Do you have any other, or that your like main sponsor is Arbortech?
Yeah, so I mean, Arbortech Carolina and Waterlocks are probably my main sponsors. So Waterlocks makes a tongue oil finish,
right?
Besides that, I'm starting to work with Inventables with the X-Carve. I don't know, some other smaller brands. I'm going blank right now.
Actually,
I saw the question from Inspired Woodworks. What's your dream project that you haven't started or you haven't tried yet?
I don't know. I've always liked the idea of building a tiny house, and kind of an extension of that, I'd like to find like an old firehouse, like a retired firehouse, and that just needs some time and love, and renovate it, turn the upstairs into my house, and then the downstairs, like where the fire trucks were stored, turn that into my shop.
Oh, nice.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get that wife to retire first.
That's the problem. I think we'll probably build a tiny house first and move that around with us.
Yeah, I retired from the fire department here several years ago. I put 30 years in with the fire department and retired. So Jim Bashir says, do you have room for the X-Carve?
Barely. It's taking up valuable floor space.
I think what's pretty cool is I've been looking at them as these little tiny houses you're talking about, that they buy these like flatbed trailers that are like 12 by, or maybe not 12, but 8 by 30 or whatever, and then building a little tiny house on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've seriously considered that with my wife in the Coast Guard. It's every 3 years, 2 years or so we move around. So moving the house would just be a matter of hooking it up to a truck and pulling it to a new place. So we just have to move the shop.
Right. Well, you have two of them. You have the trailer with the shop and the trailer with the house, and just pull them on the same place.
A tiny house and a tiny shop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just need 2 trucks. A tiny house of pallet wood. I can see that. Frank McCain said that.
I can make that happen.
Yeah.
Outside of the pallet wood, which is whatever, do you have if you're going to go buy specifically wood, is there specific woods you really enjoy working with that just makes you happy?
I don't know.
All wood makes me happy.
All of it, yeah. That's a hard one to answer.
Yes.
I mean, I think walnut's nice to work with, and that always looks good. It's kind of trendy now. I think something that's always very underestimated is poplar. And whenever I'm at Home Depot or Lowe's or anything like that, I'll always pop by the poplar bin, because a lot of times there's like this cool kind of purplish brown color that you get in like the crotch of the poplar trees. And you can get some really cool looking stuff with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then even like staining poplar, you can make it look like mahogany or whatever. It's a very good alternative if you're willing to kind of stain it and color it and mock it up to look like something else, because it really takes stain well.
Well, yeah, I've wondered a lot, why people didn't use poplar more. They've used it for making chairs and furniture frames, table legs, and this kind of stuff for a long time. Apparently it's stable,
Yep. Yeah, it's fairly hard for what it is too, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's compared to the other woods, it is very cheap. My son and I built his dining room table for his house, and it just so happened to be I went over there to buy some poplar. I needed it in 4x4 form, and they didn't have any. She was going to have to order it, and lo and behold, they've got, where I buy the wood is not only a rough cut wood, but on the other side is a wood shop, and they lease it out. Plus, and also the man makes stuff there like cabinets and stuff like that for contract jobs. But anyway, So it just so happened to be the guy from the shop was standing there. He goes, what size are you looking at? I said, 4x4s, and they need to be at least about 30. I said, 36 inches long. I said, we can cut them down, but I'd like to have them 36 inches long to start off with. I said, because I'm thinking about turning them, or I'm not quite sure what we're going to do yet. But anyway, he says, stand right there. And he comes, walks in and comes back. He brought me 4 36-inch 4x4 poplar pieces. I stood him up there and told her, he says, I don't know what you want to charge him for him, but there he is. And I said, what in the world? And he said they were building corners for a project, and that's what they were doing. They were turning them not into legs, but like bedposts, and that's what they were using. And those are the remnants of what they had cut off for the other pieces. I said, well, crap, if those are 3 foot long, how tall were the pieces you were working on? He said, oh, about 7 foot. So that meant he had 10-foot pieces of 4x4 poplar. They were beautiful. I mean, there wasn't a knot in them, just as plain and pretty as could be. So,
yeah, a lot of what I've done with poplar is like cabinet making stuff, and where it's paint grade. So it's just something that's harder than a pine, but it's like basically the cheapest hardwood that you can get. So a lot of it ends up getting painted, which is a shame because it looks pretty good.
Yeah. And like you said, a poplar is beautiful when you stain it. You can stain it like a walnut color, a red mahogany color. I mean, and it turns out it takes stain very well.
Yeah.
I understand Jumbo. No problem. Jumbo said he'd like to make an offer, but he has a granddaughter who's in the hospital in Atlanta right now with doing chemo, and he's trying to help her with the money right now. I understand that, Jim. I'm sorry to hear about that about your granddaughter. But thank you very much for the thinking about Donna. I mean, there's a lot of people out there right now that are having a lot, their families having a lot of problems. Trust me. I'm the one that came up with this. As a matter of fact, I told Donna this afternoon that I was thinking about doing this and decided to go ahead and do this. And I might, if we get a good response from this, I might have some other stuff that I've made that I wouldn't mind auctioning off to help her and raise some money. So Frank McCain says he made a sofa. Man, I'll talk one day. Made a sofa table for my daughter out of poplar and stained it with espresso. Wow. I bet you that looked good. All right, guys, we're rocking on down here to the top of the hour. Get your questions out there in the chat, because we're rocking on down to the end. Guys, any of y'all got any more questions?
Sterling's full of questions.
I know, yeah.
Sterling's just full of it.
He asked what video editing software I use.
Yeah, I just saw that. What video editing software do you use? All right,
I use Adobe Premiere.
I've tried that, and I'm really kind of starting to like that. I've been using Corel Video Studio Pro for years. When I say years, I'm talking about probably 8 or 9 years. I do a lot of videoing, and before I even started this, doing YouTube for my family, I videoed kids, and there's football games and all kind of stuff. But anyway, so about, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 years ago, one of the first cameras I bought had Corel Video Studio Pro in as their software packages for video editing. And so I started using it, and just throughout the years kept on using it. They kept advancing. I think they're at Video Studio Pro 10 now or whatever. But for the amount of money that you pay for video editing software, Corel Video Studio Pro is a great bang for your buck. I mean, it really is. Have you ever used that?
No, before I switched over to Adobe, though, I was using Sony Movie Studio.
Yeah, they're a lot alike.
Which is very similar. It probably cost me like $30 or something.
Yeah.
And that was the first 2.5 years on YouTube. I just used the Sony Movie Studio.
Yeah. And trust me, Corel Studios like the Sony, and there's another one out there that they're alike. They're all pretty much the same, because even now I've been trying Adobe Studio or Adobe Premiere, and it's basically like that. I mean, some differences, yes, but if you can use one, you can use the other.
Yeah, like the whole main design of it is very similar and very easy to hop from one to the other. It's just like kind of the back end stuff and the extra details, like masking and just stuff like that you don't use much in woodworking videos.
Sterling says, I'm just trying to help. No one else is asking questions. Dang, you're all meanies.
Thanks, Dad.
No problem. I understand. Okay, so was there any questions from the panel?
Says, what's the availability of hardwoods around DC? I don't know. There's a lot of hardwood pallets, so pretty good.
Pallets rule. Pallets rule.
Besides that, I've priced out a few things, and it seems there's a lot of people around here, so there's a lot of wood, and the availability is pretty good. And there's a sawmill up in northern Maryland. It's probably 2 hours away, but it's like half the price of anything else around here. So if I need anything big, I'd go up there and stock up.
Now, when you break your pallets down, do you take the whole plank? Because I'll tell you how I do it. I ain't fiddling with those end pieces with those damn nails. So I take my power saw and cut off the ends, and then because that relieves the ends, and it's pretty easy at that point to get the center nails out to give you that nice plank. But 90% of the time when you try to get those end pieces, they're going to break or splinter or whatever anyway. So I just cut them off right off the bat.
Yeah, and a lot of times they're already cracked anyway, just from putting the nails in them.
So how do you break yours down?
That's what I do. I take the skill saw just right along the nails on either side.
Yep.
Cut the runners off and then pull it apart from there.
Yeah.
But if anybody's really curious about seeing the details, you can check out my latest video from April 1st that may or may not have any useful information in it.
Okay. Pretty cool. Yeah, that's how I do mine. Like I said, I'm not fiddling with those end pieces, and
yeah, you never get much good out of it anyway. And by the time you cut that down, you're still left with almost 3 feet of wood, which is pretty good. Yeah. Which was enough for my workbenches. So the workbenches are made just from one length of slat, just all glued together.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. What we do here is the new person that is on the block, we do wood shop confessions, and what a wood shop confession is, tell us something that you did in your shop that was just like so absolutely dumb and pathetic that after you did it, you stood back and went like, why the heck did I do that?
I don't know. I feel like I try to block those memories out.
Do we have to use hypnosis to release some of those memories?
I can't think of anything. I mean, probably the most common thing for me is I normally, when I do the pallet stuff, I'll run it over with a metal detector, make sure there's no nails in it, which still 99% of the time the nails aren't there, but sometimes you'll miss one. And I have a set of blades for my planer, because a lot of times I plane down the pallet wood to smooth it out to glue it together. And I have a good set of blades and a bad set of blades. And what I normally do is swap them out. So for the first pass, I'll go over it with the bad blades, and that'll, if I can see at that point if I hit any nails and then pull them out. And then for the smoothing cuts, I use the good sharp blades. But I'm guilty of not swapping the blades out and being lazy. And whenever you do that, you always hit a nail. So that's my confession.
That's your confession. Okay. Well, I'll bless you and so that you won't do that anymore.
I always look for my nails with my miter saw. That's where I normally find them.
Every time.
Jimbo signing off. He says, awesome show, Russ. Good night. Hope your granddaughter gets better, and I will keep her and you in my thoughts and prayers, Jim. Millennial Jesus, Sterling Davis says, millennial Jesus makes no mistakes. Okay. That's why
they dubbed me Millennial Jesus down in Atlanta.
Yeah. And Jimbo's got a good idea. He says, that's why I have 2 planers, and I'm fixing to do that myself. I have an old Craftsman planer that I've used for years and years and years, and it's finally starting to give it up. I can tell the motor's getting a little weak after years of use. And so I'm fixing to get a nicer planer. And I've also thought about that, keeping the old one onto the side. And when I'm doing wood that I'm gonna kind of iffy about, because I don't have a metal detector, I need to get one because they're not that expensive. But run it through that first for the first couple of planes just to make sure everything's okay, and then take it over to the other one. Yeah. Also, I got something the other day that, man, is fantastic. It's almost as good as a planer and works damn near as good. Is I got the Supermax 1632 drum sander.
Yeah, that's on my my short list of tools to get. I just got to find the space for it. But
yeah,
I want one of those in a bad way.
So let me tell you, I put some 60 grit sandpaper on that sucker the other day, and I had a piece of pallet wood that my son-in-law got off of a pallet, and it was like a solid piece of oak, but it was really spalted, good-looking oak. And this thing, it came off of one of the big machines that they had, not any of the product. So it was probably about 6 foot long and probably about an inch thick and about 6 inches wide. And so I was said the heck with it when I first got that drum sander, and I ran it, put some 60 grit on it to use it like a planer, so to speak, and ran it through there. And I was able to take off at almost 1/8 of an inch at a whack with a damn sander.
Yeah.
So I was like, holy crap, this thing is like awesome. That 60, but let me tell you, that 60 grit, it is so coarse. It's like tons and tons of scratches down the board. I mean, it takes the roughness and everything off, but you definitely would have to change back and go to a smoother grit once you got it down a little bit, because boy, it really takes it off.
Yeah, for the baseball chair project, I had segmented rings. The biggest one was 3 feet.
Oh,
and
wow.
I didn't have any good way. Like, I need a drum sander to sand that down, but I got my buddy's shop north of DC. I went up there. He's got the Powermatic. I think it's a 24-inch with the open end on it.
Right.
So the 3 foot rings would fit in there, just hanging out the side a little bit. And I used that and just spun the segmented rings around inside that thing.
They're awesome. I got the 1632. I couldn't see the because it's 1632. That means I can do something 32 inches wide. Just run through 16 inches of time. I couldn't see need anything. I never build anything that big. I'm kind of my woodworking stuff was always kind of small. I don't do real big projects. So, Dave Hart wants to. You ever done any scroll sawing?
I never have. That's like one of the very few things that I've never done in woodworking.
Well, I know somebody's a good teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, come and watch me over there on Twitch on Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. I do the scrolling with Russ over there on Twitch.
All right.
I'll teach you how to scroll saw. It's actually pretty easy, trust me. So Dave Hart wanted to know that. Thank you, Dave. He doesn't do scroll sawing, so
I feel like it's something I would pick up on, though, because I like repetitive work for some reason. So
yeah, it's not hard to learn. It's very easy to learn. Trust me. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you being on tonight. Let's not forget, if you don't mind, people, about Donna Presley's brother. I would appreciate that. And don't forget about the auction that I have going on. It's over there on Facebook right now, and people are actually bidding on that right now. I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much, Brenda, for being on tonight. Chris, John, Katie, Al, and Paul, and also Ken Moon. He was on. He disappeared. He said he'd be right back, but he ain't back. And thank you all for being out there in the chat. I really appreciate it. Jimbo's been out there. Dave Hart, Sterling Davis, who's been asking a ton of questions.
Yes. Thanks, Sterling.
Yeah, Jim Bashirs, Frank McCain. Who else is Ken McCrory's been out there?
Steve Good was out there too.
Oh, Steve Good was out there?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's twice he's been out there, and I haven't seen him in the chat. So I have to find out why he's. College View's been out there, and just running back through real quick to see Inspired Woodworks, Dan Inge, or it's Dan Ingerbritsen. They were all out there in the chat. Thank you all for being out there in the chat. I appreciate it very, very, very much. And a big thank you to Paul Jackman, for being on tonight. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right, guys. So we ain't got but one thing left to do, and that is
Dang it, Russ.
just give me sawdust, lots of sawdust all around me and everywhere. I like it flying all around my shop and even in my beard and hair. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching, and God bless.
Yeah, everyone.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
You have to go home, but you can't stay here.